Warning, I'm coming in hot, honest, open, and transparent. And for those of you who are with me, in the last video, I shared with you all that, oh my gosh, I'm doing it right now. Holy moly. Okay. I shared with you all that I'm going to be coming into this video as fully honest, open, and transparent. And what that looks like is coming in as my full And what that looks like is showing up as my full and whole self. And so I am challenging myself in this video. You all just saw me like mid moment, or I was like, oh, wait, I'm showing up in a different way. And I say this because I was sharing with you all in the last video that I was communicating and creating in a process in a very unsustainable way. In the last video, I took about 4 hours to write my script, which to some extent, like I saw more as a blog post. And it's because I know for me, as I may potentially have ADHD, that I know that I can go down a lot of winding roads. And even thinking about that last video, I was like, did I even get to the point? And so this video, I was like, you know what? I want to lead by example. I want to model who I needed. I want to role model who I needed when I was younger. And so what that looks like to me at this point is showing up fully as myself. And so I'm challenging myself in this video first off, to not take 4 hours to write a script, aka blog post. And by doing that, I'm just going to be referring to this sticky note that I wrote some bullet points for my next video idea. So if you see me just like doing this, I'm just going to be honest. I'm like, that's what I'm looking at right now. And, this took a lot less time than 4 hours. So here we go. Hello, welcome home. All right, back to what I was saying. So as I shared with you all in the last video, I recently met with a new friend. And before we got into the whole point of why we got there in the first place, I told them, hey, I am putting my worst foot forward. And that's typically opposite of what most people do. Typically, when you meet someone new, you want to put your best foot forward. And for me, I realized that that doesn't work for me, and that I would rather just put my worst foot forward. And what that looks like to me and what that means to me is that I just laid it out for them. I said, look, I'm going to disappoint you. I'm going to hurt your feelings. I'm not going to meet your expectations. And what else did I say? Yeah, that's basically it. I was like, I know, like conflict is going to happen. Like conflict is going to arise. And for a long, long time, and I still think even now, conflict is an uncomfortable situation. It's an uncomfortable conversation. But I have finally gotten to the point in my relationships that I've realized that one, it's going to happen and like it's inevitable. If it doesn't happen, then there's like a lot of people pleasing that's going on. And like, again, people are not showing up as their full and honest and transparent selves. And secondly, for me, I see it now as two things. One is an opportunity for the person to show their character. And second, it's an opportunity for us to connect even deeper, because I finally realized that when it comes to conflict, there's nothing inherently wrong with conflict. If anything, it's just to show and share like what actually matters to us. What values matter to us, what boundaries matter to us, what perspectives matter to us, what opinions matter to us, what beliefs matter to us. And so when a conflict happens, it's because like our edges are getting rubbed up against each other. Our differences are getting, challenged. And like, what's the other word I'm thinking of? Our otherness is showing up, and there's nothing wrong with that inherently. And so, I think coming from a background where like, my parents, my mom specifically, never wanted me to rock the boat or step on any toes. Like, I have a very vivid memory of her, and particularly with my dad, because my dad and I would often butt heads because I was the only one that would actually like stand up to him. Even, because I felt like he was in the wrong, at least in my perspective, and I was willing to like stand up for myself and also in attempt to stand up for my mom. And I remember her so like, yeah, so vividly just being like, shh, don't say nothing. like, stop that. Don't get your dad upset. Don't get him even more upset than he is now." And I'm just like, says who? According to what? Like, and I know it's a cultural thing, and also recognizing being first gen, like, in the States specifically, family dynamics are a little bit different, and living in between these 2 worlds, I definitely challenged that, and yeah, and so, depending on where you're at, the privilege and spaces and places you get to be in, the cultures you're a part of, and yeah, the opportunity and privilege to be able to speak your mind and your heart, depending on a countrywide level or on a personal level. Like, yeah, I'm just here to say, like, already anticipate, like, in my videos that it might be uncomfortable, and as I've shared in the last video, like, I'm at a place in my life where I just want to be honest, open, and transparent, because for so long I, like, siloed and sectioned myself off, in a way that was digestible and palatable for other people, and just how exhausting that is. And I think more importantly, again, just a recognition, telling her, like, hey, like, I'm just gonna put my worst foot forward, and just like, and just call it out. Just call it out for what it is. We've all, for the most part, have been in enough friendships, have been in enough relationships at this point that, that conflict happens, and that disagreements happen, and that disappointments happen, and that um, expectations aren't going to be met. And so, what are the hard conversations that are going to come from that? And how can we see it as an opportunity to build our character and our connection? And so, And so I say this because I want to be honest, open, and transparent about where my current mindset is, recognizing that it can change and it will change. And so in this moment, as of April 2026, and in this 100-day challenge and in this video, this is my current mindset. And I feel like it's important for me to share as fully and as wholly as possible, like, as a whole person as possible, because I don't want you to have, like, any questions. I mean, you can have questions. Please have questions. You have a question, like, ask it. But, like, I don't want I'm like doing the hard work for you in terms of showing up as my whole and full self and being as honest and transparent as possible. So you don't have to do the hard work in, like, trying to mind read, And I say this because I'm not a mind reader. And I know how frustrating for me it is that when I'm in friendship or relationship or in new connections with people, and I just have to be like, do they mean what they really mean? Like, do they say and do what they're actually proclaiming that they do? Like, and I feel like for me nowadays, like, the practice of discernment is such a skill right now. Like, there's so much information, whether artificial or or not. And people just have so many masks, and social media has added so many illusions, and yeah, there's just a lot to get to the core of anything now, and to experience, like, a true and pure, like, channel and connection with somebody else, and um yeah, just in being in society right now, and yeah, there's just a lot. There's just a lot out there, and yeah, I'm just not at a place right now where I have the energy to, how do I say this? Like, I don't have the energy to be uncomfortable to make you comfortable. Does that make sense? Um, that's exhausting and that's frustrating for me. And I'm just, we all know the state of the world right now. I'm just not at a place to, like, spend my finite limited time in being uncomfortable. Not necessarily uncomfortable. How do I say this? Let me say it again. See, I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, I can edit this out. No, I can't. I'm not editing it. I'm not editing it. I don't have, yeah, I just don't have the space and want to spend the time, my finite time, this non-renewable resource, in being frustrated. Like, I'm at a place where I recognize that frustration is fuel. And so if I am getting a lot of that dust kicked up and I'm feeling levels of frustration, then I'm in practice of turning that into fuel. but man, it's not a feeling that I care to feel often. And I recognize that if it does come up, it's just a sign of telling me like, hey, something needs to change, something's not working. And so being able to transmute that into something else. And so as I was saying, as I was saying in the last video, that I believe that everything, what did I say? Everything in, okay, yeah, there it is. Everything starts in how someone tends to their whole self, how someone tends to their mind, how someone tends to their body, and how someone tends to their spirit. And yeah, all of life comes from that, right? I say this because I think for a very long time, and this is the point I didn't get the chance to make in the last video, but for a long time, I didn't know necessarily where to get started. I think I've approached my life in more of a helicopter way, where I'm just like kind of figuring it out as I go. But I know for me, methodically and strategically, when it comes to starting things, sometimes I can get stuck in the details and in the planning of things. And I actually I have approached things in the past more as a tarmac for a plane. And so like I would, yeah, just be very methodical about how I'm building something and wanting to make sure that every piece of tarmac is laid down perfectly before I go launch on and lift off. But my life has not been necessarily like that. And so, I want to share this to my younger self and also as a reminder for myself and for anyone that's watching, that has gotten this far in the video, that if you don't know where to start, if you're lost, if you're confused, if you're frustrated, if you don't know where to start with yourself, well, first off, starting with yourself, because as we've shared, like everything starts with ourselves, right? Like whatever we're seeing out there is just a reflection of what's happening in here. And so before we go and change the world and save the world, how can we change and save ourselves first? And recognizing, like I've said in the last video, ain't nobody coming to save you, sis. Ain't nobody coming to save you, Sib. Ain't nobody coming to save you, bro. So again, paying attention to how someone tends to their mind, paying attention to how someone tends to their body, and paying attention to how someone tends to their spirit. Because all the fruit of their labor, their mind, their thoughts, their words, their actions starts there. It really starts here. Mm, in their full self, in their whole self. And yeah, I wish someone would have told me that, like, where do you get started? Well, one, you start with yourself. Okay, once I start with myself, where do I get started with myself? Well, for me personally, I would say for me, the mind, because the mind is the internal operating system that's getting to run all of this. But I don't actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, I actually don't think it's like do one, then two, then three. Like that's literally what I was talking about in the last video. Is like it's all connected. But I think what's most important is to start. So do the one that you think is best for you in this season of your life. If you feel like you haven't tended to your mind in a while, then start pulling out those weeds. And then see how it plays into your body, into your spirit. If you feel like that, yeah, if you feel like you haven't tended to your body in a while, then start with that. And, start with one push up a day, like start small. At least that's what's worked for me. Like how I've gotten to my current workout routine and regimen and the ways that I've taken care of myself in the past few years. It started with one push up a day. It started with putting my mat out the night before and starting with one push up a day. And now I'm at a completely different workout regimen and understanding of my body. But like, yo, I used to be 20 pounds heavier than this, but I have sustainably kept it off for years now. And like an extra 20 pounds on a 5 foot body is a lot. But again, those were the foundational conversations around food that didn't happen when I was younger. And so that's why I want to be able to stand here as evidence of the work that I've done. And yeah, and again, if you haven't tended to your spirit in a while, then I would start there. And so again, it's asking for a radical, honest conversation, a radical, honest, open, and transparent conversation with yourself first. Have I been, and I want you to note, have you been inputting too much into your mind? Have you been inputting too much into your body? And, it might sound crazy, but you can also input too much into your spirit. At least from my experience, I think it's crazy to say and that it's coming up right now, to be honest, but look, I'm just going to go with it. But like I used to work in a church, um and I was reading the Bible and I was trying to get through like Bible in a year, and I was doing walk with Jesus daily devotionals, and I was meditating every single day, and I was building my relationship with the infinite intelligence, and I was journaling and reflecting every day. Like I was really heavily pouring into my spirit. But then you get to a point where you just got to do something. Like, um, yeah, you get to a point where you just actually have to move and take action. And I think, after doing that work, I recognize that my spiritual health wasn't just about going to church on Sunday, and it wasn't just reflecting, and it just wasn't my daily devotionals, and it wasn't just um yeah, just being fed and tended to spiritually, but and in those moments for the 30 minutes, for the hour, for the 2 hours, for the 2 years, but that work has then turned into, like, what does that look like in daily life? You know? And yeah, and how do I allow it to not only allow it, but channel it through my mind, through my words, through my actions. And so that's what I'm trying to say. And what I wish someone would have told me was that, I know for me, sometimes I can get like too far ahead of myself. Sometimes I'll put the horse before the carriage, or whichever way that's supposed to go. Um, and I would think too ahead into the future. And so I would start to like study things and prepare for something that hadn't even happened yet, just because I had this vision in my mind. Like, for instance, like my current dream and vision is to have a creator leadership academy, right? And so, me, myself, and I, this is what I do. I go by the URL. Will it be called the Creator Leadership Academy then? I don't know. But I'm like, I'm gonna buy the URL just in case. And I'm gonna get the Instagram just in case. And I'm just gonna just in case, just in case, just in case. And that's a very familiar place I've operated in. But I'm in current practice of just like, but what does that look like in daily intent, in daily action, in daily thoughts, in daily words, in daily moments, in daily breath? Like, how do I move through the world and show up to the world as a full and whole and complete self? And how do I channel my higher self in every moment that I'm still breathing? And for me, y'all, that's truly, truly the practice. And yeah, I've shared in past videos, like, this human life and this human experience, we're so quick to not quick, but we put a lot of emphasis on the mind development and on the physical development. But we don't put a lot of emphasis on the spiritual and the emotional development. And that's just what I'm showing up to on here, and just being a reminder to all of you is like tend to that also. And to bring this full circle, when it comes to the people you surround yourself with, to the content that you consume, to anything that you consume, really, to the role models that you choose. Um, Practice that discernment. And I use the nose because I don't know where I got that from, but I feel like discernment is in the nose. That, it's like what they say is like, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. Um, but right now in society, I feel like the duck the duck has a lot of masks and a lot of illusions, and it really, 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 like looks like a duck and acts like a duck, but I think they're just wearing a duck mask and they're actually whatever else it could be. Maybe it's a hen or a chicken. I don't know, but it's damn close. And, for me, when it comes to discernment, the practice is in paying attention and it's in observing. And just for me, looking for the congruency in their whole self, in their thoughts, their words, and their actions, and looking for the integrity in their presence. And I say this as someone, again, I have sought outside of myself for so long for the role model that I never had. And I've looked in all kinds of places and spaces and in all kinds of people. And yeah, it's for me, my whole life, it's been difficult to find. But I think now more than ever, it's even more difficult because it's getting harder and harder to tell who's really about it. You know what they say, and this is something that's funny from the last video, but it's like, how people say like be about it? If you about it, then be about it. And yeah, and that's what I was saying in the last video, that like there's a lot of people that are distracted by the doing, whether personally or watching people do the things, which is, yes, a marker of someone's integrity and their character. But I think, and to take it a step further, is noticing and observing and paying attention to how they are in their being, not only in their doing. And to check them and check yourself and how you feel in their presence. And if they're even present. And for me, that's what comes with the spiritual development. The practice of that presence, the practice of being present. And in this world, we know how distracted we are beyond not only this device, but in our food and in our relationships and in our dating life and in our work life and in so many other ways. And that is okay. That is, that is a big part of the human experience. But I feel like for me, it's the practice of getting back on the path, my path. I speak for myself, getting back on my path, and attempting and practicing to not drift off so far. And I just feel like nowadays, man, the discernment and the drifting is off the walls. And yeah, and so I stand here in an unedited version of me, unpolished, unpretty, but yet proactive, um, and honest and open and transparent, whole version of me, because I want you to know what you're working with. You're not a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader. And yeah, if you're watching this and you're like, this person's this person, and you have all kinds of stories about me, and what you think and all these things, right? And that's normal, very human. But at the very least, I'm going to share and show up in the continued practice as my whole self, because like I said in the last video, one, it's more sustainable. And two, because I want you to just know who you are having a synergistic energy exchange with. And so, yeah, with that said, I think to end this video is to be like, if you have any questions in the comments, if you have any questions in the comments that you'd like me to answer and make a future video in, go ahead and ask them. And I will be as honest and open and transparent as to who I am, what I think, what I believe, what I value and what my current perspective is right now, and recognizing and giving grace that as of all of life, things can change. And yeah, so just knowing that like I can share what I feel like in this moment, but in the next moment, it may change. But I think what's most important to discern and to pay attention to and to notice is the through line of someone's core and character. And for me, that's what I wish someone would have told me when I was looking outside of myself for guidance, but that this is also a reminder to myself that if I've drifted too far off the path, if for whatever reason I watch this video 1,000 videos later, who knows, this YouTube journey, that this video shows up at the perfect time, that if I've drifted too far off the path, that to get back on the path that is meant for you. And that you've said that is for you. And yeah, and that if you've forgotten who you truly are at your core and at your essence, yeah, if it's something that you miss and you know that's still there, ask yourself, how can you get back to that? So, with that said, I look forward to disappointing you. I look forward to not meeting your expectations. I look forward to hurting your feelings. I look forward to our uncomfortable conversations. I look forward to learning more about our character. And more importantly, I look forward to the deeper connection we'll have because of it. So I would love to hear your comments and your thoughts below this video in terms of you liking me showing up with just a post-it note, which I kind of like the process. I didn't mind it. But yeah, we're at 18 days only into the challenge. And so I think a post-it note, at least for a week, is worth testing and experimenting. And definitely not going so hard on the editing afterwards, but if at all. So this is the video, full video, completely unpolished and imperfectly perfect, because what needed to be said was said, and what needed to be received is hopefully received. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video where I'll just be guided by this post-it note. Well, a new one that doesn't have this message on it. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this message has and will help you on your journey. And if my future self is watching this, I'm proud of you. Proud of you for showing up, experimenting, trying, and doing it in a helicopter way, because we know that that's not the ways that you've always done it. And you doing it now is a big deal. All right, that's it. I'm gonna go. See you all in the next video. Bye now. Coming in hot, 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 hot. Okay.